Howdy everybody, and welcome back to our Legacy of the Wizard aRPG tutorial. So far, we have managed to make our way from the title screen and all these things, character selection and these things, and now we are up to item selection and inventory. So let's get cracking. First thing first, come back to our object stat bar and make sure that the persistent is selected on there because I need that to be persistent for later on. And then, next, we need to open up our inventory room. So you can see so far we have a background that has all of our inventory items, so on and so forth. Background is on the asset layer. And we want to be able to choose the different items based on where our position is in the room. So what are we going to do that? To get started on this, we are going to make an inventory selector object. So let's start with that. Alright. And we're going to need to give it a create event, amongst others. Let me open up my reference code here. And one of the first things, actually, come over here to our character sprites, the girl sprite player up, because that's what we're going to want to use as our starting look, and put you right there in the room. Let's add a create event, and we are going to want to start off with an image speed of 0, but we will be increasing it over time when we move the character around. And actually, there we go. We have a couple of special colors that we're going to be using for inventory information. So what this inventory selector is going to do is it's not only going to show the inventory selector, it's also going to draw the information about the inventory in the room as well as other things. So basically anything that happens in the inventory room is going to be taken care of by this object here. Let's go into the step event here. And if alarm 0 is equal to -1, do stuff. So only move when we haven't selected, because what it's going to do is every time you select, you're going to want to stop movement for a second. So just add in a little bit of a description here. Alarm. And yeah, there's no code in that either. So let's see. Lots of stuff to go through on here. So we're going to use some regions on this. And it's going to be a lot like our character selector here, except I'm using vars in here for some reason. Doesn't really matter, I believe. And we're going to do the same thing again, except for the Y input. Then we have X plus equal underscore X underscore input times move underscore speed, and Y plus equal underscore Y underscore input times move underscore speed. There we go. So now we're going to want to animate our selector as it moves around. So if underscore X underscore input is equal to 0 and underscore Y underscore input is equal to 0. So if there's no input, then image underscore speed is equal to 0. Else, image underscore speed is equal to 0.5. And then we just set our character's sprite based on which direction you're moving. So there we go. If underscore x under input is greater than 0, if we're moving right, go right. If we're moving left, go left. If we're moving up, if we're moving down, go down. If we're moving up, go up. I hope that's self-explanatory. Then we are going to want to clamp our movement to the room again, just like with the character selector. Clamp X 8232 and Y is equal to clamp Y 68196. Alright, I believe that is pretty much everything in there. Well, not everything. There's a lot more code that'll go in there, but for the moment, that's what I want in there. Because we are going to want to do some additional stuff, but first we need to create our inventory object. So let's pull that up real quick. Let's see here, we have alright, going to make a object stats, and we're going to fill this up with all the information about our character, such as what their current inventory is and how much life they have, magic, etc. So we have our life equal to 0, magic underscore is equal to 0, our keys underscore is equal to 0, our gold underscore is equal to 0, new underscore game underscore is equal to true, inventory underscore amount underscore is equal to, that is an array, and I'll get to filling it in a second because that's what we need to know about for our inventory. Inventory underscore equipped underscore is equal to ds underscore list underscore create. Now a ds list is basically an array, so come back to here, 16, 0, 0, 1, and there's a bunch of other variables in there. I'll put it in a second. But so what an array does is it allows you to store a bunch of different values inside one variable. So we have all these different values, but if I wanted to access them, I would say inventory underscore amount underscore 0. So if I wanted to say var test is equal to inventory amount 0, that would take the value in the first position, which starts at 0 in an array, and that would be 16. So test would be equal to 16. And if I said 1, it would be equal to 0, 2 would be 0, 3 it'd be 1, etc. And ds list is basically the same thing as a array like this, except it just has a few extra functions that are tagged onto it, such as the ability to create and destroy them very easily and other things. So here's our inventory. So these are what we want. We have 16 of variable 0, which in my item system I've set up for this game is a blank space that does nothing. So that'll be useful for later on. Then 0 is the first item, and then this one is the last item over here. And I only put in a couple objects into the game, a couple items into the game, so each one of these is one of the item that I have. Or you could have it as 5 or 50 or whatever. It doesn't really matter how much. I just set it as having one available for testing purposes. Then ds underscore list underscore add. So this is one of those extra functions I was talking about. Using ds list add to inventory equipped underscore. I say in the ds inventory 000. So I basically have just said, that the inventory underscore equipped underscore variable is now 000. That's what it looks like now. And I'll add a couple other things. And we'll use those ones later for using items that fill up all your health and all of your magic at one time. Also, we need to remember to add a cleanup object because lists are stored in RAM, so we want to destroy the list so it doesn't take up any extra RAM space once we no longer need it. And we no longer need it once the stats object is destroyed, so the cleanup will run right before the destroy event and will make sure that anything that's in it is cleaned up. We'll run the code in there. So that'll make sure our list is deleted and no longer hurting anything. Okay, let's see. Real quick here, we're going to add a second thing. So come over here to other, room start. We're going to say if our room is equal to rm underscore inside underscore house, then do some stuff. And if room is equal to rm underscore inventory, do some stuff. So when we go into the house, one of the things we need to do is reset the inventory. So we just do ds underscore list underscore replace inventory underscore equipped underscore at position 0 with 0. So that just replaces the position with a blank object. 2, 3. So that empties out our inventory, sets life equal to 0, magic underscore equal to 0, and if we are in a new game, so this is the first time we've ever gotten into the room, into the house room, then we want to set our gold underscore equal to 50 because you start off with 50 gold, and set new game underscore equal to false so we don't accidentally give ourselves 50 gold every single time we go into the house. Then secondly, if we go into the inventory room, set life underscore equal to 1 and magic underscore equal to 99. You could also put this as 99 too, but I put it as 1 for testing life and death and getting damaged and stuff, so that would make it easier. And yeah, that should be good for the moment on this end. So we can come back to our inventory selector. And we are going to want to draw some stuff in the room that should appear in the inventory selection room. So going to want to draw. Again, this could be done on the draw GUI, but I did it in the draw event because I'm completely inconsistent on this, which I should be better about being consistent on. So back into the inventory room, we're going to want to draw the number, how many of each one of these things we have right here underneath each one of the items. So this is what we're going to do first here. For var I equals 1, I is less than 9, I plus plus. Do stuff. So what is a for? For is a loop. For is a loop. So what does a loop do? It will keep doing the code inside of it until at such time that the conditions you set up here are met. So in this case, I created a variable I and set it equal to 1. And from I, and as long as I is less than 9, keep doing stuff. But whenever you reach the end of the stuff and you get back to the top here, increase the number on I. So that way it doesn't it doesn't run forever. That's something you can run into a lot of. If you run a game and just for no reason it freezes and doesn't do anything at all, it might be because you have a loop function somewhere that is looping endlessly. So what we're going to do is draw underscore set underscore h align. Remember we said you probably always remember to set these things before you do anything with functions that do fonts. And here's that magenta color we made earlier. So here we have make color RGB, and I just put in some variables that make a color that I thought would be good for this, and it should match what is in the game. So what is magenta for? It basically saying, okay, well, let's see. We have magenta and purple. One of these things is for the foreground, one is for the background, because we're going to draw the text twice. 32 minus 8 92 string stats dot inventory underscore amount underscore I. So this is drawing, yeah, this would be the background first. So it draws the background, which would be a magenta color. String object. Then for some reason I'm missing parentheses. You go to there. You go to there. And you should be going to right there. There we go. There we go. Rather than messing around with trying to figure out where I had it written wrong, I'll just copy and paste. That always works, right? So we draw our background text, then if object underscore stats dot inventory underscore amount of I is greater than 0, so if we actually have any of this item, then draw underscore set underscore color C underscore white, else draw underscore set underscore color purple. And last but not least, draw underscore text I times 32 minus 9 92 string object underscore stats dot in underscore amount underscore I dot dot. There we go. So this will draw our background. It'll draw the information in purple for the background color, and then it'll see if we have it or we don't have it, and if we have it, then it'll draw it again in white and slightly offset, so that it will actually give us a background sort of highlight. And you can see here I used the I variable to determine the position of where we should be drawing at. So that's one of the big strengths of using a for loop. You can draw a whole bunch of things instead of having to write out all this code and decide where I need to draw everything and having a whole bunch of these ifs all over the place. I just have to have one because it all would use the same thing. You just have to figure out the math for where everything would be positioned. And we're doing pretty much the same thing for the bottom row, except now I is starting at 9 and we're at 17 here. I minus 8 times 32, etc. And minus 8 again, 124, because now we are at a lower position. And string inventory amount. You know, I need to go back here to the stats, because we need to be able to, we need to come back here to the init room, and we need to put the object stats in here because we want to have it created at the init and set it to be persistent, so that way it's there and available at all times. As I say right here, if we had additional characters, you would also put a character class check to make sure the character can actually equip the item too in there as well. So also back here in our knit room, well, not our knit room, in our inventory room, the equipment that we select gets drawn down to these positions here, and our character stats get drawn over here as well. So we're going to have to draw those in as well. And I'm going to do that quick and fast using copy and paste. Draw underscore sprite, sprite inventory, object stats, the inventory equipped, because we're going to be changing what equipment is equipped by selecting on it in the step, by selecting in the step event what equipment we want. And then here's the coordinates for where you would draw it as well. And same thing with the stats, draw coordinates, draw our stat. You would use some sort of system to tell which stats you would use according to which character as well. And last but not least, don't forget to draw yourself. So back here actually with this, you'll notice that I'm using a what are these things called? Bar. I can't remember exactly. But I'm using what the thing that's above a backslash in your when you do a shift backslash, that's what makes it. Can't remember the name of that character. But anyway, so you use it as a quick accessor for stuff that is made with a DS list. It allows you to instantly get information from that position, or you could also assign a value to information at that position. So it's actually fairly useful as that goes. Come back to the step event. We have our movement over here, but next up we want to make our items. So we have our movement. And again, we're going to go with var underscore item is equal to instance. This is going to work a lot like our selectable character again. So instance underscore place xy object underscore selectable underscore item. So we're going to make a new object here. Selectable underscore item. And actually, real quick back here, we're going to go give you a sprite, world, sprite solid. And in inventory, you just move one over each one of these guys. And the selectable item has a variable associated with it. That would be item underscore number. That'd just be an int. And that's all we have to do with that guy. Because just like with the selectable character, you just come here, variables, set you to 1, variables, 2, variables, 3, and so on and so forth. I won't make you watch me do all of them. Then we come back here and we need to do our selection. So if underscore item does not equal no one, then do stuff. So in this case, we are going to check if object underscore stats dot inventory underscore amount underscore item dot item underscore number underscore is greater than 0. So if we actually have more than one of the item, then do something else. Play an audio sound. There we go. And again, we actually use this over here. So if there isn't an item there, then just make the unselectable sound as well. And we're actually going to use the alarm 0 here as well. It's equal to sec times 0.25, and image underscore speed is equal to 0. Sec here is a macro. Macros are quick bits of code you create. So in this case, I said the word sec is the same thing as typing in this bit of code right here. So that gets the game speed. So that gives you 0.25 times second, so quarter of a second. Back over here, object underscore stats dot ins underscore amount underscore. Actually, I'll just copy and paste this one in here as well because there's a lot of it in there as well. So our object stats, the inventory amount of the object stats inventory equipped at position 2 plus plus. So if we have anything in position 2 of our equipped inventory, add it back into the amounts that we have available. Then replace the value in 2 with whatever was in 1. Replace the value that was in 1 with whatever was in 0. And replace 0 with our new item that we've selected. Then our object stats, make sure that the item amount of the item that we just selected has been decreased, and play a audio selection sound. I think that's everything we really need to get this going. So yeah, let's take a look. Oh, nope, got a problem here. Oh, so I had a misspell there. That's back over in object stats. See, that's why I prefer to copy and paste, because then you don't get these little errors. Oh. Got a problem there. It's constantly trying to select. So why is it doing that? Oh, that's why. I forgot to set so that it only actually does anything if object underscore input dot action underscore a underscore pressed. There we go. We want to only be doing stuff if we actually press A. Select our character. Still moving very, very slowly. As you can see, our inventory is there and selectable, I believe. Let's see if we come back to our movement. Oh, that's why. That should be part of this. Alright, I think that's everything. And we can get this long-winded episode out of the way. There we go. Now you're moving around properly. There we go. You can select it. It goes into your equipment. And it disappears from up here. Can't do anything yet with those because I haven't actually added them in. Nor can we exit yet. We'll add those in next. We'll add that in next episode. This one's been going far too long. So thank you everybody and good luck with your coding.